How do you measure growth? It's the end of 2024. We're about a month away from 2025. And I'm sure that a lot of us are thinking about how we got to this point in the year, whether or not we have achieved our goals, all of the New Year's resolutions that we made. Have we crossed some of them off our list? Or did we just throw the list out and say, ain't none of this stuff getting done? Hi, welcome back to the channel. My name is Christina, and I am a genre bending literary writer. Oops, I said it wrong. And today we're going to talk about growth as a creative. I wrote a blog post a little over a month and a half ago, and I was talking about whether or not you could measure growth. And the answer that I had was that you can, but you have to look at it over the course of many years. In September of 2024, it marked 10 years since I had gotten my first fiction story published. And in those 10 years, since 2014, I have traditionally published 6 short stories, and I have self-published 4 short stories. And I did self-publish a collection, but that I ended up taking down this year, so it's not available anymore. And for me, it marked serious growth, not just because I had gotten things published, but also how I had gotten them published. The first 2 short stories I ever had published were from a friend that I knew in grad school. She was putting together a collection and she encouraged me to submit. And I was pretty sure that I was going to get into those 2 anthologies. You know, she knew my writing, she liked it. She said, hey, I would love for you to be in these collections. I said, sure, no problem. And I got in. And for me, that was a huge achievement. Prior to that, I had only had a few nonfiction things published here and there, but no fiction. And finally, I had fiction published, and not only that, but they were in actual books that you could buy on Amazon and still can. And people who were friends and family could order those books and they could see my name there on the book. And I felt like I was finally a real writer. Although I had already felt like a writer, I had been writing for so long that it wasn't odd to me to call myself a writer, but it was nice to have something physical that I could point to and say, yep, that's me. The next 2 stories that I got published were in 2018 and 2019. And those 2 stories I had written in grad school, and they had been workshopped to death almost. I think dozens of people had read them. I had written, at least 3 versions for each story, and they had been sent out and sent out and sent out. I think both of them collected about over 20 rejections over the years. But they finally got published, and the growth there was that I didn't know these editors. I had never met them, probably still never have. And they just liked those stories, so they wanted to publish them. When those 2 stories came out, especially the first one in 2018, it was like a confirmation for me that, like, yes, you are writing things that are publishable. You have put in the work, and now you are seeing your stuff out in the world. So for me, I could feel that growth, but it wasn't until this year when I had 2 stories published. One was published in June, and the other one was published in October of 2024, that I really started to see growth, because those 2 stories had been they had been written after I graduated from grad school. Both of them I never workshopped, although I do have a critique group, so the critique group did read them over, but they weren't rewritten to death. I think maybe both of them had two drafts, I think it was something like that. And I didn't know those editors. So finally, like, the training wheels of being in class and having a lot of people look at your stuff and knowing somebody who would publish you, those training wheels were gone. I am officially in the boat where a lot of people are now, where you don't have a huge audience that has to read your stuff because we're all in class together. Instead, I have me and my judgment and the critique group, but the critique group is great, but I didn't continuously submit the stories to them. They only got them once. And then I took their advice. Some advice I kept, some I didn't use, but I improved those stories to the point where I really believed in them. And they went out into the world. And yes, they got rejected a lot. I talked about The Fire, which was the one that was published in October, and I believe that was around 23 or 24 rejections. No, that one wasn't that many. It was probably around 16 or 17. But that just goes to show you that you can't measure your growth just by one or two incidents. You have to kind of look at the whole over the course of many, many years. I've said this before, it's probably going to be repeated a lot on my channel because I really believe in it. But your writing career is a marathon, not a sprint. If you're just running the first 2 miles, you may not feel like you've gotten anywhere. But if you've gotten 10 miles in, then you start to see, oh, I've gotten somewhere. I've done something. And so I was thinking about this a lot when I started to think about this video, because I'm now over 15,000 words, and hopefully by the end of November I will be at 20,000 words for my novel. And it's been a long time since I have gotten to this many words, and strangely, I'm not nervous. I really love this story. I love these characters. I believe in this story. And whereas in the past, when I thought I didn't have a book in me, the thought of writing a book was exhausting, I am actually feeling very energized right now. I know a lot of people are talking about burnout. I talked about burnout in another video, and I've gone through that. I can feel for the people who are feeling the burnout, but I'm on the other side of that. Right now, I am energized. I really believe in this story. I really want to keep writing it. I'm starting to really fall in love with long form again, which is a feeling I haven't had in a very long time. I used to be happy just writing 2,000 word short stories, and that's all I need. But now I'm feeling like, you know what? I could write this novel. I could spend another 6 months working on this project. And that's a good thing. It's good that I'm not sick of it. Maybe after 6 months I will be sick of it. But right now I don't feel that. Instead, I'm like, I cannot wait to write. I'm in the middle of a scene right now that is very contemplative and reflective of one of my main characters. And I find myself just enjoying his thoughts, enjoying his thought process, and getting into his head. He's a very interesting guy, and he's got a lot of baggage, but he's got a good heart. And I just love that. I love exploring characters like that who are good at heart, but sometimes they have to do bad things in order to have good things happen. And that's a gray area I love to explore. I tend to see themes throughout my stuff of family and conflicts in morality. What does integrity mean? What do ethics mean? There was a great line from Frasier. I don't know if y'all remember that TV show Frasier with Kelsey Grammer, but he said, ethics are what you do when nobody's watching. That's what ethics are. And I loved that line. It's stuck with me all these years, because what you do when nobody's watching is very telling about who you are as a person. And that's a theme I just really, really love to explore with a lot of my work. And I don't know, I don't have an objective eye, so I can't really say if that shows up in a lot of my stuff. But, you know, it's something to aim for. Everybody loves a complicated character, you know. But in terms of growth, let's go back to the theme of this video. In terms of growth, I think that you have to take a wider look at your career. Even if you don't have anything published, I follow quite a few people here on YouTube who are much, much younger than me. I'm in my 40s, they're in their 20s, and a lot of them are just writing books, some of them for the first time, some of them are working on their second book or third book. And, you know, they've been writing since teenagers. They have a long history of writing, and I've been writing since I was 12, so I have an even longer history of writing. And so it's not just about getting published, it's about growing as an artist, growing as a writer, developing a true love for writing. If you know, it's not about like waking up every day and saying, oh my God, I can't wait to write. I mean, some days I feel like that, but I think instead my love has mellowed into a more subtle and lasting friendship. If you've ever been friends with somebody for a really long time, and you may not talk to them every single day, but when you're with them, you feel better having been with them. You know what I mean? And that's how I feel about writing. It's like I may not obsess over writing every single day, but after I spend time writing, I always feel better that I did that. You know, it's like I'm glad I wrote today. I'm grateful that I wrote today. This year, and I'll do a more reflective video about everything that happened in 2024 to me. But this year did start out very difficult for me. My father got very sick, and he's in his 70s now, and we had to take him to the hospital for a few hours because he got very sick. And while he recovered and he's doing great now, it was a day that I did not get to writing. It was a day that I definitely wasn't even thinking about writing. So those days happen, you know, there are days when you don't feel well. And I had a few of those in July where I was like, ain't no writing getting done today. I feel horrible. My migraines are just right over there. So I had to take time to rest. I had to take time to take care of myself. So when you measure your growth, it's great to track your writing every single day. I actually don't do that. I don't track a word count every single day, although I have for this book, mainly because it is so long. I've been writing it, and I think once I get past 10,000 words, I was like, ooh, maybe I should start tracking this because this is energizing me. But normally I don't. Normally I don't track my words. Instead, I track, did I write today? Yes. Great. Then it's a win. So growth should be a snapshot over a longer period of time. And at least that's how I measure it. I know some people might measure it differently by whether or not you're getting published, whether or not you are writing, you know, however many words for the year that you're writing. I know we're coming to the end of NaNoWriMo. It is the 29th of November as I'm making this video. So some of you all have spent the month writing almost 50,000 words, and that's amazing. And you should definitely be celebrating that kind of growth. But for some people, it's figuring out what's going to happen in your novel. You finally had that breakthrough. And for some people, it's just considering that you're going to try to write something brand new, whatever it happens to be. One of the videos I probably want to do, and I'll probably do it next month in December, but we'll see. We'll see if something else comes along. But I do want to do a few videos talking about my MA experience. I got a master's in writing with a fiction concentration from Johns Hopkins University. And I know that for a lot of people who are writers, they think about going in to get an MFA or getting an MA, and I kind of wanted to give my experiences of that because it was very, very positive. And I graduated in 2015. So next year will be 10 years since I graduated from Johns Hopkins with my MA. And a lot happened in these last 10 years, both good and bad. And I also have, friends that graduated around the same time as me. And they've also had good experience and bad experiences. But I will tell you this, just as a little preview. When you go to grad school, it is very different from undergrad. The type of people that you work with can be great or it can be a hindrance. So, you have to be careful. I always tell people who ask me, I say, you always have to be really sure of the program that you pick. Make sure you do some research and that kind of thing. But the fact that I am 10 years out of school and still writing and still trying to get published, I think is definitely a win. Because I know some people who graduated and they are not writing. Something happened and they stopped. And my professor at the time, he did say, 60% of you in 3 years after graduating, which is going to be 2018, 3 years after graduating, you're not going to be writing anymore. You're not going to be doing this. You're going to be doing something else. And he was kind of right. There's a lot of people I know who just kind of let it go. And I know some people who did things like started a family, or they got married, or they moved into a different job. And so they had to stop writing for a little while, and now they're back and now they're doing their thing. So it's not necessarily about going the path that I did, where you stop going to school, but you're still writing. Some people take little breaks to live their life and then they come back to it. So, growth is not a straight line. It kind of looks like this. Like that with sound effects. But it's like that. You'll make some progress and then you'll have a few setbacks, and then you'll make some more progress and then you'll have a few more setbacks. And that's life. That's how it goes. And you kind of just have to hold on and ride that wave. I am very grateful that I have come as far as I have in the last 10 years. I'm really grateful that I'm still writing, and I still love writing, and I probably always will. I don't see that changing anytime soon. It can be difficult at times, but it also can be very rewarding. My mom asked me a few months ago, she said, is writing fun? And I said, writing's not fun. Well, sometimes it is, but mostly it's satisfying. It's very, very satisfying to me. And I think that's why I stick with it. I don't try and gamify it. I don't try and give myself little rewards. I have treated writing more like just a part of my life, like brushing my teeth, washing my hair, going grocery shopping. It's just something I do every day. And it's very satisfying when I get those words down. And it's very satisfying when I finish something too. I told people there's no other feeling in the world like actually writing the end at the end of a story. I love that feeling. There's such a rush of pride that I did it. I finished something. Even if it's short, even if it's a flash fiction piece, I still feel very, very satisfied when I finish a story. And maybe I chase that feeling. Maybe. I don't know. I haven't psychoanalyzed it. But I do think that it is part of who I am now. And because I have felt that way, the growth that I measure is not necessarily a word count or how many stories I've written or something like that. It's more of this feeling of, am I still sustaining the same desire that I had 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago? And like I said, not every day is perfect, but if I do a self evaluation and it's like, are you still doing work that matters to you? Are you still writing what you care about? Are you still pushing forward in your creative life? And if the answer is yes, then I keep doing it. I keep picking up that pen. I keep turning on that computer. And I hope that you do too. I hope that you find your why. I hope that you find your satisfying creative practice that speaks to your soul. This world can be very cold, and it's tough sometimes to find that joy when there are tough things around you. And I can't even speak to people who live in countries where thoughts are crimes. You know, you can't write what you want to write. You can't verbally express what you want to say. I'm very lucky that I live in the United States and we have, you know, less restrictions on things like media. And for better or for worse, we have a lot more freedom than some other places do. And I hope that you are able to express yourself the best way you know how, and that you feel the same satisfying love for whatever art you're doing the way that I do. So take the long view of your creative writing life or your creative life, and I hope that you see great growth from the end of 2024 and beyond. Okay. Well, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. Subscribe if you like videos like this, because I tend to babble on and on at my kitchen table about writing, publishing, creativity, and inspiration. And thanks again, and I will see you all on the next video. Bye.